and play on 2nd and 10. That's his youth right there.
Tagovailoa trying to make up for it. Fires to the end zone. Touchdown! Alabama wins!
Today I'll be continuing with my college football game-by-game prediction and roster discussion videos. Today I'll be doing the Indiana Hoosiers. So Indiana's recruiting did get better after the really good year, but it was still pretty bad. So in 2024, Indiana had the 61st ranked recruiting class in the country, and in 2025 they had the 53rd ranked recruiting class, and they didn't have any 5-star players, and they only had one 4-star player. So starting on the offensive side of the ball, they were really good here last year. They averaged up 40.1 points per game, and I think they'll be similar to that this year. So at quarterback, they do lose Curtis Rourke, who was a really good quarterback for them last year, but they bring in another transfer quarterback from California, Fernando Mendoza, who, even though California is not a very good team, he's a good quarterback. He started and played in 11 games last season and had 3,004 yards passing and threw 16 touchdown passes, and he completed a very impressive 68.7 of his passes, and he averaged at 7.8 yards per throw. I actually don't think Indiana will take a step back at quarterback, and at wide receiver, they're in good shape. Elijah Sarek comes back, who was one of the Big Ten's best receivers last year, for sure future NFL wide receiver. He had last season 53 catches for 957 and 8 touchdowns, averaging a really impressive 18.1 yards per catch. Here's a clip of a touchdown catch by him. And Omar Cooper, I think, is going to have a big year this year. He wasn't a starter last year, but he played in 13 games and had 28 catches for 594 and 7 touchdowns, averaging a really impressive 21.2 a catch. And they bring in a transfer wide receiver from Appalachian State, Mekhi Jackson, who had last year in 11 games 46 catches for 745 yards and 5 touchdowns, averaging 16.2 a catch. And at running back, they do lose their top 2 from last year, but they bring in a good running back from Maryland, Roman Henby, who was a 3-year starter for them at running back. He'll probably be the starting running back. In those 3 years, he had a total of 2,276 yards and 20 touchdowns, averaging 4.9 a carry. And then their offensive line, I think, is going to be one of the better ones in the Big Ten, and one of the better ones in the country, because it was good last year, and they've got 3 starters coming back, and they bring in a really good center from Notre Dame, Pat Coogan. He started at Notre Dame for 2 years, and last season he only allowed 1 sack and 8 total quarterback pressures. So now on the defensive side of the ball, they were really good here last year too. They only gave up on average 14.8 points per game. I think there could be a little bit of a step back here, but I don't think it'll be much. I think they'll still have a good defense. So on the defensive line, they do only have 1 out of 4 starters coming back, but that one starter is the best defensive lineman in the country. Michael Kamara. He's a for sure first round pick in the next NFL draft. He was the best pass rusher in the country last year with 68 total quarterback pressures, which averages over 5 a game, and 10 of those were sacks, and he also had 47 tackles and 2 forced fumbles and a pass breakup. And they bring in 2 good transfer defensive linemen, one from Kent State, Stephen Daly, who had in 12 games last year, 51 tackles and 4 sacks and 24 total quarterback pressures and 3 pass breakups and a forced fumble. And then one from Western Kentucky, Jose Wheeler, who had last year 75 tackles, 2 sacks, and a forced fumble. And at linebacker, they do return their best one and their top tackler from last season, Aiden Fisher, who had 118 tackles, and he also had 1.5 sacks and 4 pass breakups and 5 total quarterback pressures. And in the secondary, they return D'Angelo Pines at cornerback, for sure future NFL corner. He had last year 55 tackles and 9 pass breakups, 3 interceptions, and one for a touchdown. Here's the clip of that pick six by him.
Leads the lead. Pressure off the edge, and it's intercepted. D'Angelo Pons roll out the big red carpet. Touchdown, Indiana.
And then at safety, they're going to be good. They've got Amare Farrell coming back, who had last year 49 tackles and 4 interceptions and a pass breakup and 1.5 sacks. And they bring in a transfer from NC State who had in 11 games in 2023, 54 tackles and 3 interceptions and a pass breakup and a forced fumble. Devin Boykin is his name. He didn't play at all last year because of an injury, though. And they bring back a safety from Ole Miss who played for Indiana in 2023, but spent last season at Ole Miss. And in 2024, he didn't start but 2 games for Ole Miss, but he played in 11 games and had 36 tackles and a pass breakup. But with Indiana in 2023, he had 82 tackles and a pick six and a pass breakup and 3 interceptions and 3 forced fumbles. His name is Lewis Moore. So now for the game by game predictions. Indiana's first 3 games against Old Dominion, Kennesaw State, and Indiana State will all be big blowout wins. Old Dominion may be able to challenge them for a quarter, but by halftime, Indiana should have a comfortable enough lead to put in their second string, and then Kennesaw State and Indiana State will just be name your score games for Indiana. They'll probably win those both like 70 to nothing. But then it gets a lot tougher quickly with Illinois coming to town. Illinois, like Indiana, is a team that has a good chance to make the college football playoff this year. and I think this is going to be a close four-quarter game. Luke Altmaier is a good quarterback, but I don't think he's going to quite have the receivers that Mendoza is going to have at Indiana. And Illinois at the line of scrimmage, offensively, I think they can match Indiana, but defensively, I don't think they can match Indiana. Now, the rest of the defense, I think Illinois is a little better than Indiana at. This one's close enough that if the game was at Illinois, I would probably go with Illinois, but with the game being at home, I'm going to pick Indiana. And then on the road at Iowa, this one's going to be hard. It's tough to win at Iowa, and they're a tough physical team, and the coach there has been there forever, and they always play really good special teams. Iowa, I think, can match Indiana up front on both sides, but the problem for them is going to be the offensive players that score points. Quarterback, running back, and wide receiver aren't near as good as what Indiana is going to have, I don't think. And then besides the defensive line, the rest of Iowa's defense, I don't think is going to be a normal Iowa defense. I think Indiana's a little bit better there. So this one will be close, but I'm going to go with Indiana because I think they are a better team. And now on the road at Oregon. Oregon's athletes are a lot better than Indiana's, even though Indiana is a really well coached team. Oregon, though, is also just as well of a coached team, I think, as Indiana. And offensively, Indiana may have a better passing game than Oregon this year, but Oregon, I think, has got a better running game, and I think they've got a better offensive line than Indiana. And then defensively, the big difference here, I think, is going to be the linebackers for Oregon are overall quite a bit better than Indiana's. I've got to go with Oregon to get this win, especially with it being at Oregon. So now Michigan State. A team that I think is going to be improved throwing the football this year, and they've got a good tight end who doesn't put up huge numbers, but it can be really helpful on those third and medium situations to have a really good tight end. Now, Michigan State's offensive line, though, I think is going to be terrible again, which means they'll again have no run game. And I don't think Michigan State can match Indiana anywhere on defense, especially not on the defensive line. I think Indiana wins this one pretty easily. And now UCLA. Last year, Mendoza was a better quarterback than Nico. I did leave you, and Indiana's got much better wide receivers and running backs than UCLA has got, and I think they're better at the line of scrimmage on both sides, and the rest of the defense. Indiana can, I think, at least match UCLA. Yeah, I think Indiana wins this one fairly easily. And now on the road at Maryland, a team that's probably just going to be like a four-win team again. I think this is probably the second worst team in the Big Ten this year. They're going to be really bad, I think, on both sides of the ball. I think Indiana wins this one easily. And now on the road at Penn State. Penn State's going to be a really good team. Even though Signetti at Indiana may be a little bit better of a game time coach than Franklin at Penn State, Penn State's athletes are a lot better than Indiana's are. And even though Disaster Aller at Penn State, I don't think is that good of a quarterback, with the transfer wide receivers that Penn State brought in, I think they can match Indiana there, and Penn State has got an advantage at the line of scrimmage on both sides, and they're going to be a better running team than Indiana's going to be, and they're going to have a better overall defense than Indiana, most likely. I think this might be a blowout. I've got to go with Penn State. And now Wisconsin, a team that I think is going to have a good offensive line, and I think they're going to be much better at quarterback this year than they were last year. The problem, though, for them is going to be their wide receivers aren't as good as Indiana's, and their defensive line is nowhere near as good as Indiana's, even though I think their secondary is at least as good as Indiana's. But Indiana is, I think, the better team, and they're playing at home, so no reason to pick against them. But I do think this will be a competitive game. And now on the road at Purdue, this I think is the worst team in the Big Ten, and maybe the worst team in the Power Four again. Indiana beat them 66-0 last year, and it'll probably be something similar to that this year. So I've got Indiana finishing the year at 10-2 overall and 7-2 in the conference. But this might not be enough to get them into the college football playoff because Illinois, going by my predictions for them, I think that would be a good win for Indiana. But I don't have Illinois being a playoff team, and Indiana will have lost to the two really good teams that they played, and they weren't very competitive in the playoff game last year. But I don't think Indiana is really going to take a step back this year. I still think they're going to be really good. So thanks for watching. That'll be it with this video, and please subscribe. It's free, and you don't have to show your identity to do it. And I'll be back very soon.